Welcome, everyone, to episode 11 of Dice Trays Action. Before we get into the action tonight, a couple things I wanted to go over. First, thank you so much to everyone for the support and effort put in for the Days of Tales this past weekend. It was absolutely amazing. I really appreciated everyone involved and everyone who turned out and donated. Congratulations to those who won some really cool stuff, and yay, charity. Exactly, yeah. Yay, charity. Also, some really exciting news. I'm finally able to announce that Veil of the Void, The Dead Planet, will be airing part 1, July 27th. That's going to be really exciting. It's awesome. I can't wait for y'all to see it. And then we're going to be back with part 2 on August 3rd. Again, great. Cannot miss. We're also going to be having some amazing episodes of Legends of the Five Rings coming at you very soon. I don't know if we have any dates announced yet on that, but if we do, they will be that way in the chat, as well as on our schedule down below. Very exciting as well. Who doesn't love being samurais? We've got a number of other games on the way, including Avatar Legends, a first look at a Lancer third-party cyberpunk setting, which is incredibly exciting. An incredibly unique take on the game Root, which I cannot wait to share with all of you. And we've got Wizard Dinosaurs in Space. That's the one I was going to talk about. We've got a one-shot Wizard Dinosaurs in Space, which is exactly what it sounds like, coming up in August. That's really exciting. And a I think 3 or 4 episode game of GURPS, which should be really cool, and we'll have some more information out to you on that very soon. As well as a 5-episode series set in the third-party D&D 5e world of Rega, and that is going to be amazing, hosted by the incredible Jack of Gods and Game Masters. If you haven't yet, you should absolutely go check them out. Link to their information will be in the chat just about now. Cool. So, with all that said, let's get into this next Tales from the Table episode of Dice Trays Action. Last time we left the group, they had made their way finally into Ambergate, and after meeting some interesting individuals and finally getting to leave word directly with one Bryn Talrin, the group made their way to the mansion of Baron Jacob Harold Hadley, where they held a conversation that ultimately ended in them having the ability now to explore Ambergate as needed, which will work out elsewhere, though you were warned to be careful because the actions you take will reflect back on the Baron, who is perhaps the most known or notable person in Southreach. Lodging was offered and taken up by all but Kunskap, who has other places that they need to or want to be. But that should make it easier for a lot of you to be able to traverse your way through Ambergate and the connecting parts of Southreach. You were shown to your rooms, given time to unwind, relax, and prep as needed. And that is just about where we're going to be rejoining the group of you. So when we do, where would you all like to be?
I figured we could start outside the Baron's house and just make our way to the museum.
Absolutely. If that's what you would like, you're more than welcome to do so.
Sounds like a good idea.
Great. You guys have about a 10-20 minute walk to the museum, so you have some time if there's anything you'd like to discuss or go over before you arrive.
Be able to show us which building is the Baron's house and the museum on that?
Sure. The museum is right about here. If everyone can see that ping.
Yep.
This would be the Baron's estate.
That's the Baron's house?
Yes.
So,
How conveniently close.
like across the street. Okay.
It's a bit of a walk because these places are very large. And Southreach is generally a very large place. But yes, it's just about across the street. Just a very long street.
Not a lot of cover between there and there.
Nope.
Mm. I have never done this scoping out before. What must we do?
Like taking a look at a new hunting grounds. You don't just go hunting in any random location. You want to know where the game goes. You want to find where the trails are to get there in case of anything. Same
Hmm.
premise.
Take note of how many guards there are in the area, how many are walking, how many are posted.
Don't announce our plans to them.
That's always a good one, yes.
That's a very important, yes.
Any points of entry?
Yes. Clear places to maybe hide if necessary. Exits, best
We want
exit
to-
paths.
We want to get in the basement, correct?
I believe that's what the hand said that it was.
We may not be able to get in the bank basement now, but at least we can find out where it is.
If there is a cellar or other entry to go down, perhaps?
I believe the hands is going to help us get into the basement, if I am remembering correctly.
But we should still be aware of where it is.
Oh, yes, very much so.
Mhm.
So, eventually, you find yourselves by the museum. It's not hard to miss. There is a large signage across the top of it that says The Amber Gaze, Antiquities and Other Ancient Atmosphere. And there are people piling in and out. It seems like a relatively busy crowd. The place is quite popular, especially currently with, according to one of the signs out front at least, a rare artifact that is not often seen outside of Polish Rock on display. Rory, roll me a history check.
History.
Yes. History for this mystery.
17.
Great. So Polish Rock is a pretty insular nation kind of. They don't often work outside of their own lands, and honestly, even within their own lands, a lot of the governance is more concerned with the Stonebeard Mountain Range than anything else. So, barring some kind of high profile agreement, probably brokered by the guilds themselves, it's very strange to see anything from Polish Rock here in Lysantis, and specifically here in Southreach, so far away.
So there might be a good chance that it was taken as opposed to donated.
That is an assumption that would not be incredibly unrealistic to make, but you don't know. It's possible that some kind of trade was made out. Nothing you've heard of, but yeah, it's probably about a coin flip that something big happened or that something big happened. All right.
Should be fun as well as informative.
All right.
What time is it currently? About
It's just about after noon. You still have a good half the day left. However, unlike what this map may suggest, it is still heavily raining out, and yeah. So you will have to sort of scramble your way through a number of people who are all kind of huddled together, trying to make their way through this place as best they can. But you are free to do as you would like now. So upon entering, hang on, Kunskap, when you get to that first entry point, upon entering, there's a lot of people kind of rushing back and forth through what looks like this relatively large hall, and it's the first time that as you enter, you can definitely see that this place was at one point a home. It's a relatively complex foyer, but a foyer nonetheless. There have been panels set up that definitely had not been there once upon a time, and hanging on them are inscriptions of some of the rules: no food, no drinking, no pets, just basic stuff that maybe not Kunskap, but that most people who have visited a museum would know. However, as you first step in, if anyone else would like to join Kunskap in this entry hall, you do notice two guards standing on either side. They turn to you, and it's these two dark-skinned gentlemen who have some kind of elvish heritage. And one of them goes, "Welcome to the Amber Gaze. You can make your donation here." And he points down to a bowl that's full of like silver and a couple of gold. "And we have a place where we can take your cloaks. Obviously, you can't go in with soaking wet." And the same one on the other side gives you the same spiel Girna has. You enter.
Bury will take off his cloak and when he passes by the donation bin, he'll put in 2 silver.
Okay. And the guard will take your cloak and he'll drape it over. There's kind of like a wooden bar that runs across the wall beside him, and he just sort of like drapes your cloak over that, and there's a mat beneath it that's just sort of absorbing the water. He takes a like adhesive piece of parchment and just kind of presses it over and then hands you a ticket for it. They're incredibly efficient here.
Kunskap will look over at Girna and looks back at the god and says, "Is there a religious exception for such things?"
Well, if you'd like, I could. If you were dry, I'd be able to give you once over and send you on your way just to make sure there's nothing unscrupulous. But we can't have you tracking water into the museum proper. There's a lot of sensitive pieces, and honestly, it would just potentially cause a problem. Not to mention, someone might, slip on it and hurt themselves, and that would be a problem as well.
Kunskap's golden eyes will return to Girna, then lower their head a little bit before they begin to remove their robes.
Perhaps you could help us with this?
Oh, what would you need?
You do magic, no?
The guard's eyes go large. You have a license for that?
Is this is Lysanthus? Of course she does.
Roll me
Yes, I do actually.
roll me persuasion. It's not a lie. You do have one. But I'm gonna have Girna roll me a persuasion for this.
Versus.
Just see if you can get by without having to flash it.
We're gonna dice. The 12. That's a 12.
All right. Well, as long as you have everything in order, that's fine. Just, be careful, be safe, be smart. You know the rules. But yes, if you are able to dry this off, then if there's a religious reason, I think. And he looks over at the other guard who begrudgingly nods. Goes, yeah, I think we can let that slide.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
Would Aksha's prestidigitation work for that?
Absolutely, yeah. Why don't you describe how that goes?
Okay, so Aksha will walk up to Gerna and Kunskap, put hands out on both of them, and you'll see a faint sparkly glow that'll kind of slowly spread over their cloaks. And the water will just kind of vaporize away.
You know, grow up my whole life here, and I never get used to that. So cool. Yeah, that's perfectly fine if you've got religious reasons to not remove them. They don't seem to be a problem. So, yeah. Welcome in. With a donation, of course.
And then Aksha takes off his cloak and hands it to one of the guards.
Takes it and he drapes it over, and he again, like with Rory, puts a little piece of adhesive scroll on it and passes you the corresponding piece.
And I drop a silver piece.
When
Fiona thanks Aksha, and she drops 2 gold pieces in the donation.
when Kunskap is allowed to keep their cloak, they start shuffling a bit and reach into their robes and pull out, again going through the nope, that's a squirrel skull, and then goes through the other side, runes, in the expectation of good faith, pun intended, Kunskap will put a full gold piece into the bowl.
Full gold piece, you said?
Yes.
And the guard on your side, seeing you do that, kind of like nods and goes, "Thank you so much. It's very appreciated. Please enjoy."
Now that everybody else has gone in, Toby is going to come through the front door. And how much space is there between the front door and the guards?
Well, the guards are like to the sides of it, but they're like immediately there when you walk in. So when you walk in, you've probably got like a good 3 feet on either side of you before the guards. But
Okay, so Toby's coming in and he's going to take his hat off and kind of just like shimmy to drip the water off of him. Then seeing what has happened, he's going to walk up to one of the guards and go to drop a gold piece in to the donations and hand his hat.
he takes the hat. And you go, so do you need a towel?
Oh yeah, yes, towel would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And he just sort of like reaches behind him and pulls a towel out from what seems like it was sort of like on his belt, and he hands it to you. It's nowhere near as nice as the towel that you had gotten at the Baron's Manor, obviously, but it will do. It's probably going to be pretty soaked by the time you're done because it's not made for someone of Toby's size, but it should do fine.
Well, after receiving the towel, Toby will be like, "Well, thank you," and like starts toweling off, but also reaches in and puts another gold piece in.
Your donation is very generous. Thank you so much.
Your towel is very generous. Thank you so much. And like I go to walk past them.
And like right before you get out of earshot, you just hear, "Yeah, you keep it. It's fine."
As they're entering the building, Kunskap will turn to Aksha and bow their head and says, I thank you for your friendship in that endeavor.
Yes, absolutely. If need Aksha's help, just let Aksha know.
Cool. So the group of you are free to enter the museum as you would like. You should be able to. There should be. All right. Calm down, Kunskap. It's not that scary. There should be doors you can interact with right in front of you. There you go.
Claws against the door.
So you enter through these doors and immediately find yourself in a courtyard. You can hear the pitter-patter droppings of rain, and looking up, there seems to be this sort of almost ethereal silvery dome that arcs across the top of the museum courtyard. keeping the water at bay. But that is far from the most interesting thing, because the other thing out here are a number of very intricate, maybe statues, but if they're statues, they're very, very lifelike replicas of giant dragons. There's a red and a blue and a silver and a gold and a green and a bronze, all just sort of positioned as though mid-flight, seemingly hung in place by nothing, about 5 or 10 feet off the ground. The red's mouth is agape with the ground beneath it carved and painted to look scorched, and bits of flames sort of waft out of the corners of its mouth on occasion. There's a green dragon that has little trails of what look like green smoke sort of rising out from between its teeth. A blue dragon that has its eyes bright, like filled with lightning. And each of these dragons is just in the midst of some kind of action-esque pose, filling this courtyard. On the walls outside, on the walls of this courtyard, you see paintings and depictions of these great dragons and others just sort of flying across these vast, like, open lands, as well as pictures of them sort of snatching at beasts on the ground, most likely for consumption. And many of these have small plaques underneath them that talk about some of the history of the dragons in Lysantis and Orzadama as a whole, and how they are these incredibly interesting, fascinating creatures that sadly do not exist in Orzadama anymore.
Two things. One, can I make either a perception or arcana to see how they're like being suspended without?
Yeah, you could make either. Which one would you like to do?
I guess arcana.
Sure, roll me an Arcana check. Yeah. So you've heard about this once or twice. There are in the whole of Lysantis a lot of people who use magic specifically for art, called radical mage artists. They're kind of a huge deal. They're a kind of newer concept. They weren't really a thing like 50 or 60 years ago, but in the last couple of decades, people have really started to take magic and create these complex or just very detailed works of art that are woven in with innate magics. Sometimes you've heard about, like, in the Dominion, it's been done as well, where people will take like Cursite dust and sort of weave it in with their paints. And outside of there, you've heard of a number of people who have kind of just taken to adding more just arcane energies into the materials that they work with to imbue certain enchantments or effects that are persistent. And this would be, one of those. There are a number of people just sort of, walking about. You see this one, like, orcish kid who just sort of stops in front of the red dragon and is like, "Whoa! Mommy the dragon! It's gonna eat me!" Before he's, like, sort of dragged away.
These are going to come to life at night and eat us. That is my concern.
Aksha is enraptured. My people. This is my people.
Aksha,
Yes.
you see above all of the other dragons, sort of in the midst of sort of circling is this majestic, huge golden dragon. And it just sort of calls to you. Just there's something about it that's so perfect, and so majestic and regal and powerful.
Aksha's staring at it. And as he stares at it, little tears fill his eyes. And then sit down the sides. It's so beautiful.
Toby is gonna walk up to Aksha, seeing this, and kind of like give Aksha like a little pat on the back of like, you're going to be that big one day.
Yeah. So, as you said you were going up to Aksha.
So I went up as Aksha was looking up at the gold dragon, the giant gold dragon. I walk up to Aksha and give Aksha like a pat on the back, and also look up at the gold dragon and say to him like, "Oh, you're going to be that big one day."
Aksha looks up at Toby with his big, wet eyeballs and was like, yes, Aksha will. Yes, my mentor always said so. Aksha believe it will happen. Yes, thank you, Toby.
Of course, little one. And Toby's always careful to like pat very softly on Aksha to not be too forceful.
Good, good. Yeah.
Wondering, these like windows, I assume they're like glass barriers into exhibits or something?
No. These are just some windows that exist. Yeah. If you go over and you sort of peer into them, you see there's like a working, at least part of a kitchen here, which is not particularly surprising. Again, this was at one point a home. Likely it's a way that they can keep their staff fed, or if there is somewhere to sit down and eat, there may, they may sell food somewhere for a specified area. And then some of these other windows open up into just hallways that you see people walking to and fro. It adds a little bit of light to the courtyard and just gives you a glimpse of into a bit of what's happening here in this place before you get into the halls and stuff.
Is there like a clear pathway around where it's like, here's the direction you should be going?
No, it doesn't
Any-
seem like it. There's just a couple
Any
different set of
signs?
stairs.
Like to wings and stuff?
What?
Any signs that signify what wings are?
There don't seem to be any. No. Which does strike as a bit odd.
Are there any places that specifically say do not enter or guarded by dragon or I bloody dare you or something?
No.
Donde
everything
está
seems
baño?
good.
Like,
Everything seems fine.
Quinskop
Yeah.
had gone up to this door and opened the door earlier.
Sure. So you open the door and there's a guard standing on the other side of it, and he looks at you and just kind of like nods his head, and he goes, "How are we doing today?"
I'm very well. What's in here?
Oh, well, there's a sitting area if you'd like, and you're free to pick up some snacks for yourself. There's a counter you can order from and enjoy a nice bit of a meal. Just don't go taking the food outside of this spot, though, because that's just not acceptable.
Okay, thank you. Close the door.
Sure.
Do we want to split into groups and look for where the lower areas could be
Right.
accessed by?
Rory has Quinskop suddenly leaned in very close. There's food behind that door.
Good find.
Fiona's gonna take out some parchment and some charcoal and start mapping the place out,
Cool.
including the little food corridor that we now know about.
Sure.
Aksha's gonna ask Garna, Garna, can I borrow some charcoal and paper?
Of course. And she's gonna shuffle around and hand some over.
Aksha's sorry, he's gonna take a few moments and learn more about my people.
Toby is going to walk over toward the set of doors on the other side
Mm-hmm.
and try to open this door.
Go for it.
Or I will follow.
And steps out into what seems to be some type of corridor or a hallway.
Yeah, so it's a hallway. There's a number of guards just sort of roving around and people walking to and fro. I'm actually going to do this because it should be like that. There we go. Okay, and these. Great. So, you walk out into that corridor, and there's a number of guards and people just sort of walking around, and the guard turns around and he sort of waves at you before continuing about his business. You notice there are like plaques on the walls of what seem to be separated different rooms, and each room seems to be a different set of like things, like a different exhibit.
Do they have any like indication on like what some of these exhibits are?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go up to any of them, you can check. I'll move these guards out.
Okay, can I? There's enough space for me to like walk past the guards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so there's also this staircase over here.
Yes, there is the staircase heading both up and down, although you notice that there is a... Actually, does this one go down? Yes. No, this one just goes up. I'm lying. The staircase
Okay.
just goes up. Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna try to walk toward like the end of the hall this way. Like,
Sure.
looks like there's some. I mean, there's a guard there, so I don't know if I can get past him. But
No, yeah, as you approach that end, the guard kind of puts a hand up and goes, "This area is currently under construction. We're not letting anyone in right now. There was a an unfortunate mishap with a misplaced firework or two, and it's getting fixed."
Okay, and I would try to go to the one that's most in that direction that's still open.
Yeah, sure, that would be like here.
Which one? Okay, so
Yeah,
Toby's gonna go in that room.
Sure. So, going into that room, the room is set up kind of like an office. It's a very well done up office. The desk seems to be made of this incredibly fine wood, and sitting on it inside of a case is a book. And then a plaque sits in front of it that says Saint Dinvella's private journal. Underneath that, it explains that this is the journal that Saint Dinvella used when she was writing down her thoughts and understandings of her existence and the purpose that she was sent here for by Balas, that would eventually become a big part of putting together the Sapientia Legionarum, which is the holy texts of the Silver Crest and the Sapientists. Along with that, there's also a quill that is held also in sort of a domed container, which its notes is her quill, and the rest of the room is just sort of done up in what you have to imagine would be what they believed her office or her place of writing looked like at the time. Walking around it, you also see on the wall behind the desk is another case, and in it is this long, very pristine-looking rapier. Upon the incredibly thin blade of which is inscribed something that you can't really read, Toby. But it is, according to the plaque, Dinvella's blessed rapier that she led the people of Lysanthus into battle with to fight off the darkness and begin the seeds that would take root and become the great city of Dine Sanfe.
I read the book. Like
Mhm.
obviously I can pick it up, but can I like look at the page and then read what's written on the pages that are open?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Looking down at the book, a lot of it is just sort of trepidations and thoughts on the battles to come. There's a part where she talks a bit about her faith being incredibly powerful and never wavering. She talks about some of the tactics that she's considered using and how she needs to pray on it before she can settle on a decision. There's one portion near the end of the page that talks about how she feels that her time is short, but that she knows every moment of it must be used for the sake of fighting off the darkness that threatens people.
Very interesting.
Is that a window to this room over here in the corner?
Yes.
So we can see out of it. How high up are we?
Like between 7 and 10 feet up. Really not much.
Okay. And this door over here goes out into the hall.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna leave the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
That way, saying hi to this guard over here. And gonna slowly make my way down to the next room.
Sure. So the next room. Great. The next room is what looks like a war room. There's a large map of what you assume was the battlefield that this particular battle would have taken place in, laid out across the floor. And there's a number of small pieces representing different armies or groups. And then right beside the fireplace on this ornate mantle is a arm crafted out of silver. And inscribed on the arm are a number of enchantments that you probably wouldn't recognize, but actually you definitely would. Yirna, you could roll me an Arcana to see if maybe you would recognize any of them. Lilith was more inventor than arcanist, but nice.
19?
Nice. Yeah. So there are a number of enchantments inscribed on this thing to make it functional and to grant it the ability to be impactful and powerful. It also could most likely cast a number of blah blah blah, a number of low level spells once or twice a day. And the plaque beneath it says that this is the magical silver arm of the Ward Duke Kaerith, who was Duchess Caliph, who was the one of the generals kind of for Saint Dinvella, who had sort of taken up the mantle as the de facto leader after the end of Dinvella, and how the arm was a gift to her, blessed by Dinvella, inscribed by a number of ancient arcane ancient arcane geniuses who had sort of helped afterwards in setting up the first iteration of the Cabalion, which is the major arcane school in Dine Sanfe. It talks about how the people toiled for 5 days and 5 nights without rest to get it ready so that she would have it riding into the final battle.
Interesting. I would almost say it is a precursor to myself.
Scott will go to the last room.
In this room, you find a few things. There is what looks like a long cylindrical tube, like a glass cylindrical tube that's been shattered, and is roped off so that you don't get too close. But there are pieces of glass still laying on the foot of this large, long tube. And beside that is this string of what looks like 3 hexagonal books that have been chained together and are resting upon a podium. There is no plaque by the broken tubing, but by the books, you see it says, "On loan from the Uzumrald Archives." For pretty much all of you would know, Izumrald is a major dwarven city in Palushraq. It goes on to explain that this is a folio. The mysterious set of texts is potentially from a civilization long forgotten, full of strange symbols and ciphers. No one has truly unlocked the secrets that it seems to hold. It was found deep beneath the Stonebeard Mountains in the 1st century of the modern era, with little known about its origin or creators. Some scholars believe it to be a historical text detailing the rise and fall of its creators and their civilization, while others believe it may be some sort of spell book or holy text.
Are we able to approach the book?
You are able to approach the book, but to touch it, you would have to take it out of the case.
What good is this knowledge if no one else can read it? Says Kunskap as they walk out.
One of the
Not
guards
wrong
looks.
about that.
One of the guards looks over and goes, "Huh?"
Kunskap just let him keep walking.
So as you as you turn the corner, you do notice both these sets of stairs go down.
Okay.
But as you go to approach them, the guards just step in front and sort of bar your entry and go, "I'm sorry, sir. This is not for the patrons." He says, kind of looking up at the giant bear.
Toby looks at me and says, "Oh, more fireworks?"
No, the private archives are down there. They're kept for rotating things in and out and preparing things for viewing, and sometimes people of particularly high standing can get a private audience, but otherwise we don't permit people down there. You would have to speak with the curator or one of the higher ranking officials in charge of the museum. You could, since the curator doesn't seem to be in the city presently, you can go speak with the Silvercrest and put in a formal request at the Dominestica.
Oh, we don't need to go down there. Let's go this way, guys.
So going in here opens up into this very large room, full of a number of very intricately carved statues. And each one seems to be one of the founding or leading members down the line of the Dominestica. These are kind of like their equivalent to the Pope. And each one is another individual who was at one point chosen to lead the Sapientists. No giant hats, though. Sorry, I know. Disappointing.
What even is the
Deeply.
point?
Why did we even come?
Oh, that's hurtful.
Moonscop seems relatively like moving quickly, like they'll just like look around, move to the next spot, continue walking around. Nothing seems to be really catching their eyes particular interest.
Are
Food again. Yeah.
are we able to go up these stairs?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a moment.
Okay, where do they lead?
We'll have to shift to another map for that.
Okay.
I just need like 2 seconds to move you guys over. But if everyone wants to go up, we can go up.
Sure, yeah, why not?
Cool. Give me one moment.
Yurna's making sure to stay out of the view of like guards when she's doing her map scribbling.
So yeah, the brings you into this sort of balcony area which overlooks the statues on the ground floor and has a set of open double doors ahead of you. Stepping out, I'm just gonna put you here for the sake of giving you vision, because for some reason on the stairs you can't see anything. So yeah. Oh, and someone just jumped off. Dory has jumped off the balcony.
You have to see if you take fall damage.
Yeah, yep, yeah. If you jump off the balcony, you're gonna take fall damage. That will happen.
Moonscop also seems to be like skittering behind Gierna, like trying to keep close to her.
Well, I'm gonna pull you back here because you can't jump over the wall. No, bad.
Don't let him tell you you can't jump over the wall. If you believe in yourself, you can do anything.
Oh my goodness.
Goddamn right.
Awesome. Yeah, as you walk along the halls here on the second floor, you notice there are a number of different paintings of influential figures or of places within Lysantis of note, in a variety of different art styles and presentations, with a number of different artists named throughout.
So what's back here?
Okay. So going into there, Toby, you see a little plaque on the wall before you enter that says "Coins through the ages." And as you enter, there are a number of just wall-to-wall displays of a number of different coins throughout all of the known world, sort of sorted chronologically by region, including some incredibly rare coins, like the coins that were minted in the year Volatir ascended and have his likeness sort of stamped into them. Lysantis's formation, which are minted with the likeness of Saint Dinvella, and similar ones from the years following, which had the marking of the Silver Crest. Gierna, you recognize some of these coins because some of them are the coins that you currently carry.
I'm gonna pull one out and hold it next to it.
Anyone? Oh, well, that makes it easier because I was going to say anyone with a passive perception of like 18 or higher. But if you're doing that, yeah, everyone around sees as Gierna sort of holds this golden coin up against one from the Dominion that was supposedly stopped being minted about 90 or so years ago. And the sort of wear on the one that they have on display versus Gierna's, which are in surprisingly better condition.
Perhaps they would be willing to trade.
Indeed, maybe they are worth more than a single gold piece.
Considering how generous Guna's been with her gold, that would be pretty funny.
Be hilarious. They're gonna sort through their donations and find ancient coins.
Whoops.
Kunscop,
Yes.
just say in the room that you're in is something particularly interesting. The room is done up sort of to look like a bit of a forest. There are trees painted along the walls and a number of branches that seem to sort of jut out to create almost an overhang. And in the center of the room, on a pedestal, is a single glowing, floating seed. The seed itself seems to be about the size of a thumb, and on it is what seem like carved lines that feel very compelling to you. They're almost soothing in the way that they run, the sort of fluidity and how they follow the natural shaping of the seed, and the way that the faint glow of the golden light sort of peeks through in those spaces. And there's just something about it that is very comforting.
Is there a plaque for this one?
There is a plaque for this one. And what it says is that this was a seed from one of the trees in Surzalthur that was granted to Lysantis when they made a now long forgotten treaty for trade that temporarily allowed for the access of Lysantis into Surzalthur under specific conditions, again with the interest of opening up trade relations. Now, if you'd like, you can roll me a history check to see if you know anything about that.
9.
You've never heard of this. You know there isn't one now, but whatever there might have been, you've never heard of it existing ever. Meanwhile, Girna, Bror, Toby, and Aksha, you enter into this sort of strangely shaped room and find that there's a bit of a railing between the group of you in the center. And in the center is this large orange creature. It looks almost sort of insectoid in make. And it's got these large mandibles and this bulbous, sort of hunched body with these long, jutting, thin, sharp, like legs that hold it up, and it has this very long, broad tail that comes into this narrow, like whip-like appendage with a bit of a fin at the end of it, and it seems to be sort of face buried into a set of rusted over armor. But again, it's not moving. There's nothing about it that suggests that it would be alive. It's about the size of a giant, like, battle hound. There's a plaque that there's a couple of plaques surrounding the outside that explain that this is a rust monster who was captured and eventually put down and then was stuffed and put here by a great adventurer by the name of Pilothier Renault, who was a hero of Lysantis, like 150 years ago.
It's gonna take several steps back from the roast monster.
That he graciously donated it from his private collection upon his death.
Just kind of looks disturbed while looking at the pile of rust. Noping out of there.
What's in the store?
Let's see where you am. Oh, there you are.
When Girna and Aksha leave the room, they're noticing that Kunskap seems to be on their knees, just staring at this floating seed.
We go back then, because that is worth a note.
Aksha goes in and looks at the seed as well.
Yurna's gonna put a hand on Kunskap's shoulder and just sort of lean down a little bit. Are you all right?
There's something about this seedling. I can't place it, but it draws my attention.
This is lovely. Is it magical?
Can Aksha do a history check?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I roll out Arcana?
Yeah.
23.
15.
Okay. So, Aksha, you have actually heard of this treaty before. It didn't last particularly long, but it predates the Doorwind guilds. But there was a point after the event that the Fae call Ilawarthod, which is when they were separated from the Feywild with no way back. After establishing Circe as an area of theirs within the Freelands, there was a time where they reached out to the budding Lysantis and attempted to sort of make inroads into trade because they were, both very young as civilizations and groups of society and were trying to find a way to work together. Unfortunately, for reasons that don't really seem to be public knowledge, it collapsed completely. Something happened, fell apart. They didn't go to war or anything, but it was kind of the moment that Circe Althor decided to really isolate itself and decided against any contact with the rest of the world, which left their, treaty with Lysantis in shambles, and so it was kind of lost to history because, for whatever reason, people don't really like to talk about it.
And the seed was part of their negotiations.
Yeah, the seed was what Circe Althor offered as evidence of their trust of Lysantis. Girna, so what were you rolling to find out exactly?
Just if it's magical in nature or if it's
Oh,
anything else.
it is absolutely magical in nature. 100% this thing is magical.
I wonder why they never planted it.
Sometimes I find that these sorts of societies, instead of letting things continue the way they were made to be, rather put them in a box.
What was the name of the person who traded it? Could you
It doesn't have a name on there, but the place that it was being traded from was Cersei Althar, which is the like elven forest kingdom that exists in the Freelands.
So I'll relay that historical information
Sure.
to them so they also know. So this is from the Feywilds, yes? Or after?
After.
From the Fey?
Yeah.
From the Fey people, yes. Very interesting.
Louder.
Now I really want to plant it.
Gruskop stares at it for a few more moments. It says that does explain quite a bit. Stands and looks at the other two before nodding and continuing on their way.
Did you say if this door in the hallway could be opened, or if this is a door?
That is a door, but it seems locked when you try it. That room, however, is more than just a hallway. Inside of that room is a number of bookcases, which are also sort of roped off. And there are plaques that explain that these are the collection of journals of each of the leaders of Sapientism throughout the years. Everyone who leads the Silver Crest and takes up residence in the Dominestica as the head of the faith keeps a personal journal about their journey with Balas throughout their time leading the people. And this is where they're being presently stored. Usually they're kept in the Dominestica, but for a short period of time they've been brought over here to be on display.
Let's wait then.
Right, Toby and Aksha. So the two of you have entered into that room, and inside of that room is a number of like mirrored panels that sort of line one side of the room itself, and in the center of it is what looks to be a person. She is just it seems like the Saint Dinvella herself, clad in her armor that supposedly she wore in the battles against the. So sorry, that is one of the notes that was lost. Give me one moment. So sorry. I know I have it backed up here. Stupid notes. Give me but one moment, and we'll cut this. Yeah. Yeah. The Remnant. That's what it was. What she wore in her battles against the Remnant, who were the people trying to sort of take what would later become Lysantis after the Polyshark Empire had fallen and turned it into what equates to an evil empire. And so it's this what seems like perfect a copy of the saint herself, and she sort of looks at the two of you, and there's just this sort of deep, like very, very light blue and silver, just sort of essence wafting off of her as she looks at the two of you.
Strange.
Is it possible to like touch the statue in any way?
Yeah, you can reach out for it if you'd like.
I'm gonna poke it.
Yeah, you reach your hand out, and just before it like makes contact with her, her arm reaches out and just grabs yours. And then she looks into your eyes, and it's this incredibly intense and powerful stare as she goes, "No touching," and then releases your hand.
I keep looking down at like my arm where she grabbed it. I'm like, but she touched. And then I leave the room.
Sometimes you must also ask for consent from statues.
Consent is key. In yes, okay, cool. So the room, brewery that you were just in. So you and Kunskap in that room. What is in that room? Inside of that room is a series of what look like gold and silver masks hung across the walls. And in the center is a large orb. The underneath the masks are plaques that explain that these are the death masks of the Forsworn. The Forsworn were, according to these plaques, a series of wizards who had once offered themselves as assistants to aid with the Silver Crest and Lysantis's history about 200, I want to say 200 years ago. I believe, yeah, around 200 years ago, they had offered their assistance and had been brought in to try and aid the Silver Crest in sort of restoring balance after a unfortunate attempted but failed coup within the city itself, or within the country itself. And the Forsworn were, over the course of time, sort of assistants to the leader of the Silver Crest, and as a result, the head of the council in Lysantis. And when one of them died, what would happen is they would, before their death, which they would know about because of the scrying lens in the center of the room that they would use, would craft for themselves a mask that they felt best represented their time and aid that they had offered to Lysantis in their life. Unfortunately, the order was a very small order, and no one really knew where they had come from. And eventually, the final one of them died. The scrying lens went dark, and that was the end of their offer of aid.
Ooh, bedrooms.
It's weird that you can see into there. That's strange.
Stairs go up or
Oops.
down?
These doors are all locked.
These
looks
stairs,
like-
I moved you back a little bit. Hang on. These stairs, you will notice, have a bit of a gray bar because they are sort of an overhang from the stairs below them.
See, I did not notice. Okay.
Are these doors all locked?
Those doors are locked, yes.
I go up to the guard. What's behind these doors?
Some lodging for the people who work to upkeep here.
Ah, yes.
Figured it made sense that, it's a manse. No reason to put those rooms to waste.
More exhibits down this way.
Which way did you motion?
This way.
Yes. That shouldn't be locked. Sorry about that. There you go.
Another bedroom.
Actually, no. So it looks like a bedroom because I didn't have time to fix it up. But actually, in this room, I'm gonna move you back just a bit. There's another setup, kind of like in the room that had the rust monsters, where there's a bit of like an overhang, but this time, looking over into the like round circular bit of the room, is a pit, and inside of that pit is this incredibly well put together snowy sort of hill, and sprouting out a bit from the hill are little bits of tuft or horn, and after a moment, this small, round, furry white creature seems to pop up from within the snow, and it looks up. It's got these two little buck teeth and whiskers and these big horns and furry eyebrows, and it just sort of stumbles back on its tiny feet and falls on its butt. Another puff of snow goes flying, which reveals a bit of a brown tuft, and another one kind of pops out from there. And they just sort of look at each other, and they headbutt a little bit, and then they start pushing at each other again. These little adorable fuzzballs. The plaque explains that these are actually from the Tvallands, Tvalvorten, up in the north. They're called Noropos. They, or more colloquially known as snow rollers. They're often kept as pets and are just tiny little adorable snowball creatures.
Do I know of these creatures from my homeland?
Yeah, you've probably seen them once or twice. They're not as common on your side because with the way the frost has shifted because of the Dominion, they're not as populous, but they do exist, yeah.
Kunskap will lean in. Says, "You are far from home, my friends." They would be able to understand me. Are you looking for food?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm allowed to feed you, but I will ask. Go out to the guard. The creatures inside that room, am I allowed to feed them?
He reaches down into a bucket by his feet and picks up a it's like a bag, like a little burlap bag. He goes, 2 silver.
What is in the bag?
Naropo food?
What do I know what Noropo usually eat?
Yeah, they're carnivores.
Oh.
Well, they're omnivores that prefer to eat meat.
Kunskap will pull out 2 silver.
And he takes it from you and passes you the bag.
Kunskap goes back in with the bag. Now, how does can one reach into the cage?
No, so it's kind of like a pit, so you have to toss it down to them.
And they're like hand-sized big?
They're a little bigger than that. You would need like 2 hands to hold them.
Kunskap will throw some food down into the pit.
Sure. And you pull out inside the bag are it seems like almost like sausage that's been rolled up to look kind of like reminiscent of a cinnamon roll. And you kind of like you just tossing the one down, or
there's 2 of them.
There's 2 that you can see. Knowing them as well as you do, there's probably a couple of them buried under the snow. They're probably like napping or something, since there don't seem to be many people in this particular exhibit.
So I'll throw down 1 sausage for each of them.
Sure. And as the sausages are coming down, the first one, the white one, sort of like leaps up and just narrowly misses it and face plants in the snow. And the brown one comes over and just eats up that one, while the little white one's legs are kicking and wiggling in the air trying to get himself free until he gets headbutted in the stomach and just kind of like tilts over and then rolls down the little snowy hill bank and just shakes itself off and sort of like half runs his way back up and just narrowly manages to like scarf up the other treat before the first one gets to it. And then you see like two more sets of horns just start pushing through the snow, and then these two little like blue tuft balls sort of rise up, and then there's now all of them sort of just kind of like running around and looking up and sort of like hopping at you.
So they can understand me, they ice in their language. Kunskap says, "Sit down."
So to the group of you, it sounds like they're making these adorable, like, sort of squealy noises. And then the group of them sort of sit.
Now you two already got one. You stay there. And then Kunskap throws two more to the ones that hadn't got any yet.
And they land in front of them, and they both go for the same one, and they tug back and forth for a little bit, and they tussle their way down the snow. And as they do, the white one starts sort of like leaning over towards the second snake.
Oh, no. No.
And eventually one of them like wins, and the other one comes scampering back up and snatches up the other snack.
How long have you been here for?
Long time.
Sorry, I froze out for a second. Do you like it here?
Small.
Mm.
Fun people, small.
Fortunately, even if I were to get you out, I don't think you would find the outside environs very enjoyable. It is quite warm out here, not like... But if as long as you're enjoying your life, how many more sausages do I have?
Why don't you roll me a D10?
How deep is this pit?
Let's say about 5 feet.
Garna gets in the pit.
What did you roll, Kunsko?
10.
10. So you have 10 more sausages. You get in the pit?
Yeah, I get in the pit.
Okay. So
Yeah, as Girna's climbing in, can I attempt to stop her?
Sure. Yeah, roll a contested strength check.
Oh, can I try to persuade her not to do this?
You can try, but whether or not that works is entirely up to Girna.
It's only 5 feet, so she's literally
That's
just hopping. She's not even like.
That's not the issue, Girna. It's if you are caught getting into a pit that you're obviously not supposed to climb into, I don't think they would welcome us back here again.
But what if I pet them for like 2
No.
minutes?
If there is time later and you really need this to the point that it is causing you to possibly fail our entire mission moving forward, I will turn into said animal and then you can pet me.
Are there any guards directly watching us at the moment?
Directly watching you, no, but there is still the guard stationed outside the room who can see into the room.
You promise to turn into one of these adorable things.
I go out to the guard. Is there anyone I can speak to in order to get one of these little fellows out for my friend to meet?
Are you talking about just meeting, or are you talking about taking one home?
No, just meeting.
Yeah. Actually, pretty sure on Prosperity Day they're gonna be bringing them around, doing like a petting zoo type of thing. And if she wants to take one home with her, well, that can be arranged. You're gonna have to wait a bit to talk when the curator gets back. But it's happened before. Yeah, people have bought them. They're expensive, but people have bought them.
Gianna, can you wait a few days to pet these individuals?
Yes.
Okay. May the gods protect me. Okay. Kunskap goes back to the pit and says, "You will be able to meet me and my friends in a couple of days. I am sure all 4 of them will be very eager to. Well, Toby, do your people eat these?" Well, they wouldn't understand that part.
Oh, I think they did.
I don't think Norokos have a lot of actual meat on them. They're just
No,
fur.
not typically. No, they are fun for the children.
Yes, you will be able to meet me and my friends in a few days. I will be sure to bring extra meat for you to partake in.
And they start sort of like jumping around in the snow pit.
And Kunskap waits for them to settle down a little bit more. You said there's 4 of them?
Yes.
So Kunskap will make sure each one gets 2 before eating one of the sausages themselves.
Okay. And they very happily just scarf down these sausages and are sort of prancing and jumping around.
And as they're eating, Kunskap's kind of leaning over the edge and just gnawing on one of the ones that they have left.
It is very bad.
Kunskap has literally eaten bark to survive. I think
Sure. Yeah, it's better than that, but it's still very bad. So
They seem so happy.
are they like pulling their mask up to do that?
like just like half a centimeter just to put it underneath.
Underneath? Okay, I see. Yeah, it's pretty gross. It's definitely not cooked all the way. And so like once you pierce the like sausage flesh, it's kind of like a half raw mush. But yeah. And it's not seasoned at all.
Where Kunskap comes from, there's not much seasoning anyway.
That's fair. Damn white people.
How big is the pit they're in? Not deep, like wide, like circumference.
Do you want to fight them, Girna?
Yeah, this is where she gets her revenge.
You just see a pit and you're just like, must be for fighting.
So it's like 5 feet deep and 10 feet around.
Very big for so many of them.
Things that live in the wild need more space than things that don't.
These are a strange people. They do try to cage fish. It's I still do not understand.
Don't care if you cage them, they are fish.
So Kunskap will go into the corner and kind of like out of eye and earshot from the guard. Look at Brory. So I think we have at least where we're supposed to go tonight. Were you able to scan for any turned on or off magical devices for keeping people out while we've been here?
Did I mention I was planning to detect magic trick?
No.
Can I say I've been using detect magic for a spell slot?
You can cast it now.
Uh, are there any guards directly looking at me if I like move into the room a little more?
Yeah, no, if you move into the room a little, you're fine.
Okay. Then I'll take out the lenses and the little device and start to get it going.
Yeah, absolutely. At least in this room, there doesn't seem to be any magic at all. And yeah, I mean, walking around, there's a number of different kinds of magic in different places. You'll see, things like there's some like abjuration stuff around. There's you sense a little bit of divination magic coming off of the scrying lens, but it's incredibly faint. There's there's a couple things that are sort of around when you walk past the windows, you see a number of different types of magics coming off of the dragons outside, obviously.
The stairs heading towards the what is the lower level called again?
The
The
archives.
archives. Yeah, that was on the first floor.
The archives is in the basement.
The stairs going down to it.
Oh
Sort
yeah,
of
that
them,
was on
and
the
there
first floor. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I'll head down to the first floor.
Sure. Give me but a moment. Is there anything else anyone wants to do up here?
I would like to talk to the guard really quick.
Sure.
Oh. Before she goes up to the guard, Kunskap asks her to ask what time the museum closes.
Sure. Yeah, you can go up to the guard. Yeah. How's it going?
Well, I hope you are well as well.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent. I wanted to ask, if I wanted to donate to the museum for a specific purpose, is there a way to do that?
For a specific, I guess it depends on what you're looking to do.
Hopefully give the little snowball monsters a better place. It seems very small.
You could probably donate a new pit or what have you.
Okay. Who do I talk to about such a thing?
You'd have to talk to the curator when he gets back.
Oh. Where is he?
He's out of the city on some business.
Oh, when can I expect him to be back?
Well, he'll probably be back in time for Prosperity Day. He doesn't like to miss it.
So I hear most people do not.
It's a big deal. It's the whole reason we have all the very, very cool stuff we have from Saint Vela around right now. We're really lucky to get it this year. Drakal keeps trying to snipe it from us.
Damn him. Damn him to hell.
It's a place, but yeah.
Oh, them then. Two more questions.
Yeah.
One, when does the museum close?
We close around 9.
Oh, so late. How lovely. And the other question is, where can I get some of those little sausages?
Right here. 2 silver. I can give you some right now. He
He
picks
gives
up
him
a-
4 silver.
and he grabs 2 of the bags and he passes them to you.
Gleefully takes them and like half walks, half runs back to the pit.
With Kunskap still in that back corner, did everybody else leave?
Yep. Yes, I left.
I'm starting to look around the museum now that I'm detecting magic.
Okay, well, as she's getting more sausages, Kunskap walks with Rory and between guards says to Rory, you know, I could. And sometime late in the night, right before they close, take the form of a small insect, put myself into a corner and wait till they are locked. And then when they are fully closed down, I can find a reasonable entry point for you to enter, open it, and let everybody inside.
That's an idea. Have I noticed so far, just walking around, like the windows and stuff, are there any abjuration or divination magics?
There are abjuration magics on the windows, yes.
Okay. I feel like a lot of the potential entrances to the place have some sort of detection magic, or something to prevent people from getting in from ways other than the front door. I think we should look around, see if there are any rodent-sized holes or cracks in the building, and check to see if there's any magic protecting those or any lack of magic, I guess.
That's not a bad idea. I will start looking for that.
Sure. No,
Also, if unless we want to do this directly tonight, maybe look in the area where those fireworks went off. That may have a place that you can get in from there.
So 24.
nice. So it's going to take a while with the two of you sort of walking around casing the joint. In the meantime, I assume, you're going to be hanging out with the Neuropos.
Yeah.
Well, what are Aksha and Toby going to be getting up to?
I'm still wandering around looking at any room that we haven't been in yet that I can get into.
Sure. Yeah, there's a few more rooms. Most of them have statues or paintings or, things of that nature. It's not a particularly expansive place because, again, it's not like the main museum in Southreach. It's kind of just the super exclusive museum for the rich and powerful. So it's a lot less varied in what they have at any given time, but the things you see here are things you won't really see anywhere else. There's a lot of like oil style paintings and intricately carved statues, things like that. There's one really cool painting of like a field in the Feywild that looks like it's three-dimensional, like it has depth to it, but from whatever angle you look at, it clearly has depth, but is a completely flat painting. What about you, Aksha?
Aksha's just kind of wandering around,
Cool.
looking very innocent and trying to determine if there's any places that he could. The whole courtyard is open to this, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he could come in from the top, but he's trying to.
but
He's
do
trying
re-
to assess.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He's just trying to make assessments.
Do remember though that there is at least a dome that keeps the rain out. What else it may
All right.
do? Who knows?
This
Right.
is true.
Yeah. You can roll me a perception if you'd like to sort of just look around and see if there's anything that jumps out at you as well as the group of you sort of spend I'm gonna say the better part of the day here just sort of walking around and taking in stuff and trying to find gaps and what have you.
I actually don't find anything.
Aksha, you seem to be, every time that you're near the like windows or near the courtyard, you just seem to be distracted by these dragons. They really just are pulling your attention away.
Hmm.
All right. So over the course of the next, let's say, hour and a half or so, the group of you spend time walking around. Kunskop, you have found a number of places where, more on the first floor than here, where there's little holes that rats or mice could definitely fit through, which would give you access. And Rory, you've noticed that most of the stairs and even some of the hallways have that same sort of abjuration magics on them. Some of them have some divination as well, both on the stairs leading down. But you also know pretty clearly that there's no way that they're gonna go off every time that like a mouse runs by. So there's got to be some kind of way that it determines when it doesn't go off. But what that is, you don't know.
And me and Rory roll to see if we can determine that.
I mean, okay, so here's the thing. I could try to identify what the magic is. The issue with that is if these wards are specifically to notice people doing magic in the building, that'll be a problem. Do we want to try that?
And I assume the group of you can like come back together to have this conversation, you know, after a while of casing the place. But we can assume you're all in the same spot having this talk.
Kunskop is going to attempt to find one of these holes out of eye or earshot away from the guards.
Okay, that is doable. But there will still be like foot traffic around, just because people are walking to and fro inside this museum.
Kunskop will kind of like kneel down, like as if they're just relaxing. But when there isn't anyone around, they will be calling out greeting in rat and or mouse for someone to hear.
Why don't you roll me a stealth, and we'll see how well that goes. How well that goes at not being caught doing so.
Can the rest of us like stand around him? Them.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll stand in front of them.
Sure, you can have it. With them sort of inconspicuously huddled around, you can have
Just like
advantage.
casually leans on the wall.
Yeah, you can have advantage on rolling the stealth. Ah,
20.
and I
That is
will do
significantly better.
this. Cool. Sometimes it pays to have friends. So the first couple times, Kunskop is a little loud, not quite so quiet, but with the group of you around to sort of talk over the sounds of it, it doesn't get recognized. And eventually, Kunskop, their voice gets a little bit lower. After a bit, this just like family of mice just kind of like comes scurrying out from within the wall through one of the holes.
Kunskop like quickly like reaches a hand down to take one and pulls it up like in their lap, looking around. Um, I would
And
make
starts.
sure.
Oh,
I would sure your family keeps inside. I just wanted to speak to one of you.
and it just sort of is running around in your lap, trying to like scramble over your arm to get away.
Oh, Kuskop like reaches and takes it and like puts it next to him,
Oh,
next to them,
Hmm.
and sorry, I was being a little too fast. I was trying to be a little bit more secretive. I didn't want anyone to see the rest of your family running around.
and just sort of like looks back, and the rest of them kind of like run back into the hole.
Take a breath. I didn't mean to scare you. And offers their hand downwards again.
Eat me?
No, of course not.
Can I put down a piece of sausage?
Yeah, absolutely.
Trade the mice to eat meat.
Yeah, you put down a little piece of sausage, and at first, this mouse dips, just absolutely runs back into the hole, and then just kind of like pokes out again. Slowly starts coming out, sniffing. And then it runs over to the bit of meat, the sausage, and it grabs it in its mouth, and it starts kind of like.
Moonscott will help push it into the hole with it.
And then it kind of like pokes itself back out. Thank you. Thank you.
You are. I had a question for you if you have the time.
Hmm.
Do you know, is there a tunnel system in your home to get downstairs?
Tunnels down. Tunnels down.
Go down.
Tunnels go down.
If I have the ability to turn into one of you. Would you be able to show me if I did that? I be small like you.
Oh. Uh-huh.
Okay. Is there anything that eats you here?
Uh-huh.
What? Snake? There's a snake here? When Scott looks up at the others and says, there seems to be a snake that lives here that would make my job probably very difficult. When is the last time you saw this snake and where was it?
Down. Down.
I could try to speak to the snake as long as it is a natural one and not something out of the ordinary. But that is a risk, especially if I look like one of them.
That's as if the snake is even in the mood to negotiate.
That is another question. I have ways of forcing negotiation with beasts if I must. And Kunskap will look down at the mouse once more and says, I might see you tonight. keep an eye out for a black mouse. That will be me.
Why don't you roll me a persuasion?
10.
Uh-huh.
Actually, give me a moment.
Hmm.
Yes, I can actually, with the spells that I have currently, create a bond with any beast that I know or am at least on friendly terms with.
What ability is this?
Beast bond.
Oh.
That will also allow me to speak telepathically to it and from it.
That's first level, right?
Yes.
Okay. As long as its intelligence is less than 4?
Yes, which I don't think a mouse has a higher intelligence than 4.
Probably not.
No, it's a 3. So that's one option, and Kunskap will reach out and give a little scritch on the top of the mouse's head before standing up. Thank you, friend. We might see you again tonight.
Hmm.
And Kunskap looks at the others.
Bye-bye. It runs back into the hole.
So we have a few options we can discuss once we leave here. Has everyone seen everything they wish to see?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, I think so.
Rory, anything for yourself? So I guess we go talk now. And Kunskap will begin to leave with the rest of the party, as I assume.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Where would the group of you like to assemble?
Is there a gap? Is there? It's still raining, yeah?
Yes, it is still raining. It's raining very hard.
I do not wish to discuss such things in the Baron's home. Does anybody else have an idea of where we can have a discussion? I'm fine under a tree, but I know some don't like the rain as much as I.
The guild hall is nearby. Uh, it's
Are
not
you-
too far away.
Are you comfortable having a discussion such as this in your own guild hall?
Uh,
There are not many places where we can simply linger unless we go to a restaurant or tavern.
Or even the Hands establishments? We are still welcome there.
It is,
It's-
by the way, starting to get late in the day because you did spend quite a bit of time here. The sun is starting to set and the winds are picking up and becoming a bit chillier as the rain becomes a bit more biting.
We could go there anyway because if we are planning to do this tonight, we should let him know.
Yes, I'm not sure. If we plan on doing this tonight, that's quite a bit of a walk to get there and back.
Perhaps we do this tomorrow night.
That is all right with me.
I think that'll give us more time to figure out something versus just running in.
And we can go over Xenon.
Mice are not known for their time scale or their ability to comprehend the passing of time, so I don't think it will be too bad if I meet with my new friend tomorrow night. I probably won't even remember that I told them anything anyway.
Well, then we could still go to Zihan to let them know about tomorrow.
Am I able to use my class ability wall in wild shape form?
Which one?
The one where I can speak to animals?
I will double check that.
Since it says in wild shape that I retain my intelligence and wisdom, I would say so, but
No, I think the ability for you to speak is limited to the capabilities of the form you're in.
so I'd be able to speak to other mice if I was a mouse, but not to other animals.
Yes, correct.
Very well. Perhaps we should take another day.
Probably for the best.
We have a pretty good map of the area, yes, Kiana?
I think so.
Yeah. Why don't you roll me a?
I have cartographer's tools and stuff and all that good map making nonsense. So
Okay, cool. I'll give you
which I am
advantage.
proficient with.
Great. Roll. Then you can add proficiency, and I'm gonna give you advantage, and we're gonna make it a. Let's make it an int. Interdex. Yeah, I'm gonna make it an int.
It's all the same to me. Okay, a 17 and a 13. I will take the 17, add the 2, and make it 19.
Yeah. Your map is very good.
It's a good map.
There's even a cute little like Noropo that you've drawn in the little like Noropo exhibit with a little sausage, and you put a little heart in the center.
Yay. So then, do we all want to make our way down to the vault, or
Yes.
I think so, yes.
Yes, let's do this.
Sure. So you're all going back to Galbraith's. Sure. It's a long walk, and it takes you back through Ambergate, where neither of the two guards who had initially been there when you arrived are there, but they take your paperwork and double check the letters, the writs from the Baron that permit you free passage, and you send you on your way without really accosting you at all. You make the walk back, and it's relatively simple and easy. Again, besides the rain, there's really very little to cause any issue. When you find your way inside, and you're starting to become pretty well practiced at this, just sort of getting the lookout to bring you into the back and lead you up the stairs where the familiar jazz music and pretty sharp gazed Goliath are waiting for you. And bam. I'm gonna put all of you back.
Apparently,
over
I'm already in
here.
the back.
Please. All of you get banished back to here.
Oops.
Go here. Okay. Cool. You should all be good now. Am I missing anyone? There we go. Okay. Everyone's in. So, welcome back. You're free
Take our table in the back corner.
Yeah. Everall notices the group of you as you walk in, sort of nods in your general direction, before going back to sipping at his drink.
So, we at least know that I will be probably taking a form or another. I think I'm able to get in. The question is, once I'm in, what do I do?
As you say that, this nice young halfling lady, who you'd seen your first night here, approaches, and she goes, "Oh, it's good to see you all again. Can I get you anything?"
It's good. Thank you.
Water, please.
Water. What was it you said, my scaly friend?
Oh, actually, it's good, but thank you.
Water. Anything for anyone else?
No, thank you.
All right.
Do you have any metal silverware?
Yes.
May I have one fork, please?
Sure. Yeah. I could do that. Do you want anything to eat with the fork?
Just the fork will do.
Oh, all right.
Thank you.
And she just kind of like walks off confused.
So I'm able to turn into a beast. I'm able to get inside. I'm able to summon my own beasts once within. I'm able to speak to the beasts once I get in as well. Again, the question becomes, how do I get you all inside with me? Even if that is the course of action we wish to do. I do not have a way to get past any magical defenses that this place may have, nor I do have a way to detect them, but not get past them.
There were at least a dozen guards on the premises and quarters for staff to possibly stay overnight. And if the magics were to alert them, we would have to defend ourselves, or at the very least, run to not be spotted.
Aksha did not notice any other ways to go in. The dome is a barricade. I don't think I could fly over. So
Do you have any way to cancel magic?
I can detect magic. I cannot stop magic.
Hmm. Well, we can ask the hand about this when we see them.
There is also a possibility of acquiring perhaps a meeting with this curator if they return before this event, though. That's the tricky part.
Hmm. Well, they said that the curator should be back before Prosperity Day. That day is obviously not today, and it may not be tomorrow if we are lucky, so it may not be a problem.
After about 7 or 8 minutes, the woman returns, placing down the large mug of water by you, Toby, and a single fork down in front of Girna.
Thank you.
She points at the water, that'll be 1 silver.
I reach in and I pay her.
Let me know if you want refills. They're free. She takes it and she walks off.
Yuna picks up the fork and kind of plays with it.
There are some spells that I can switch to in the morrow.
Such as? Such as?
I'm thinking very deeply. Give me a moment. Um, I can have another spell that allows me to become instantly friendly with another animal. It will follow my direction. I do also have the ability, if needed, to charm a person if it's absolutely necessary. That sort of thing would last. Let us see here. That would be for an hour. We could perhaps charm one of the guards to allow us inside and even take us downstairs.
Then they will have seen us. Do they forget?
They do not. In fact, they will know after the effects that this has occurred.
What if it was a daytime event? What if we did this during the daytime? Going in at night, it seems to be expected, and they will have lots of protections. Daytime seems to be more people, but a little more relaxed.
There are still
It's-
guards outside of the places that we need to go.
I can use spells to get past if I'm not seen. I just don't know how spells work if they can be detected inside during the day. But I did cast the one on the two of you when I was at the entrance, and that seemed to be all right.
While I was using detect magic, did I notice any near where she was casting it?
Where she was casting what?
When she cast it on the two of them when we entered, when I was leaving, did I notice any magic there?
There does seem to be some abjuration magic there, but it was not presently. It was dormant.
It might have just not been active. Like it could have. It can only be active at night. It can only be active when they don't have people there. There's not really a way. to
That's a
tell.
good point. Did we notice any sort of arcane insignia on the guards? Do they wear something that would keep these triggers from going off? Or do we assume that they aren't in the building at all, lest they also activate these alarms?
Well, you didn't see anything arcane on them when you were there, Brory, but that doesn't mean it can't be something that they have for after hours.
They weren't giving off any magic when I was looking at them, but again, unless we have specifics, there's no way to tell what their magic.
I think my vote will be continuing to plan that we are doing this at night. I do not see a way to get downstairs with or without a guard, get what we need and leave without being noticed or found out later.
Plus, it would put civilians at risk.
Though it would be very humorous to watch. You hear from the table across a couple, about 10 feet away. Looking over, you see the familiar face that goes with the familiar voice of Galvery Runlet, just sort of sitting at the table, looking over at the group.
Their hand. How good to see you.
So you've made inroads, I take it.
Yes, we have. We have access to Ambergate, and we have access to the museum. We are just trying to figure out a way to get out your procured item.
Busy, busy, busy. Go on. And what sort of problems have you run into along this inspection of yours?
I am pretty sure that I can be within the walls of that museum after hours without being seen. However, I do not know a good way to get the rest of my friends inside, and also we do not have a way to deactivate any of the magics that are within.
Or any way to tell what type of magics are in.
Quite the problem indeed. Well.
Now it's a lovely map now, so.
Oh, good. The map is a very good start. You know, the reasons that they call me the Hand extend far beyond the obvious. I am also quite adept at procuring things, and I may have something that could help you with this. But, again, nothing is free.
What would it be that you would have that we could use, and how much would it cost?
Well, as I'm sure you can tell, not really desperately in need of funds of any kind. So I would far prefer to have it deal in favors. But what I have that might be able to help you is he gets up and makes his way over to the table and places down a small square about the size of one's palm. It's this intricate, sort of clockwork esque golden filigreed box with clear lines breaking up portions of it, and a small, sort of faintly glowing red light in the center. Brory and Girna and Kunskap, the three of you would recognize this as something clearly of Cursian design.
And what does this do?
Poke it.
Careful. You would certainly not want to waste it now. This can deactivate any lingering enchantments for a brief period of time. I think it would make the job much easier, or at least solve the problems you're currently facing, but it is sadly only one use.
And in what sort of area?
From what I've been led to believe, it should be somewhere between 15 and 20 feet. It's not a solution, mind you, but could make quite the difference.
I want to cast the identify on it just to make sure there's nothing that he's leaving out or doesn't know about yet.
Sure, yeah. Are you casting it as like a leveled spell?
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that look like?
It's another function of the device that I use to detect magic.
Yeah. Do you want to describe like what you do?
Yeah, I take out the device, I cycle through a few of the blades of the eyepiece and get a basic description of what the magic does from the device I hold in my hand.
Sure. It seems like it works similarly to how the more traditional spell dispel magic would work. However, in a smaller area, and it probably can't affect spells of considerably higher levels, but it would definitely be able to get rid of like basic alarm spells or things of that nature that would be what you expect to see in a place like the museum.
And it does only seem like a single use thing.
It seems like it is something that could feasibly be usable once per day.
Your stream kind of froze up when after you said usable.
Oh, usable once per day.
Once per day. Okay.
Am I misremembering it, or did he say that he had someone that would get us into the basement? I know they couldn't get us into Ambergate, rather, but I remember the last time we were talking that he had a way for us into the museum. Okay, cool.
Correct. He also did have a way to get you into Ambergate, but not in a way that would allow you to be able to walk the streets of Ambergate.
So we have a way into the museum.
Yes.
Well, that fixes that issue. What are the exact, now that we have seen the inside, what is the way that your contact will be able to get us inside and where?
Well, on the day that you tell me what it is that you're planning and when it is that you're going to execute it, they will be able to take you through one of the side entrances and down to the basement. From there, you will have to find your own way.
They can get us into the basement as well.
Yes.
Well, that fixes many problems.
Some, but as I'm sure you are well aware, a place like that in Ambergate is going to have plenty of contingencies.
I'm sure. With this device you're giving us, perhaps that will assist those. Do you know of a snake that lives or is kept in the basement at all of this place?
I can't say that I am now.
Because I do know. I have been told by some contacts there is some sort of creature living down there, and I was just curious.
Perhaps it is their way of fighting off the hungry mice and rats that do tend to show their faces anywhere they can.
Keeping a snake for such things is
Very specific.
yes.
The basilisk. We are doomed.
I should hope not. I'll never even know that you failed. You'll just be on display one day. I can see the plaque now. The fools who tried to break into the Amber Gates.
That will just be you four. I don't think I can turn into stone like that.
Why wouldn't you be able to turn into stone?
Don't have eyes.
Roll me a deception.
She doesn't. She has lenses.
You're still gonna have to roll me a deception. Intent matters.
This is a deception. She 100% believes that's the way that works.
So she believes that because she has lenses, she may not turn into stone.
Yeah.
What's her int?
Don't need to deceive me. I still think she's a
14.
ghost.
Well, I figure that it has to work through the organic eyeball parts, right?
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. I'll give it to you. Gina can just be really dumb about basilisks. No, yeah, that's fine. Interesting.
I do believe we will be attempting this endeavor tomorrow night.
Good. Then I will ensure someone is ready. Do you have a time?
Does midnight seem fair to everyone else?
Midnight. Wonderful.
Yes.
Then that is what will happen, and once you have procured it, you will make your way back here, and we will resolve our business. Well, that business at least. There is still the favor that will come due at some point for the hand, he says as he nods to the box, and of course, whatever other business we decide to share moving forward. This has been quite nice. Oh, and I've already ensured that you will get your rematch, as I know you are chomping at the bit.
Just about to ask. the thing that I'm looking forward to most.
Good. Then have some drink, have some food, prepare, and by the end of tomorrow night, we will all be one step closer to our eventual goals. Good. Drinks are on the house for tonight.
How generous.
And then he rises and begins to leave. And unless there's anything else anyone wants to do right now.
I want to eat the fork.
I
Okay.
knew that was coming.
Yep. Yeah, I forgot the fork was there. Please, go ahead. I'm sorry to steal the screen away from you. Go nuts.
So Yurna's kind of been toying with the fork this whole time. And then she picks it up, turns kind of away, looks down, takes off her faceplate, shoves it in her mouth. You can hear this horrible grinding noise. Like screeching metal and just breaking. And then she puts it back on and sits back down.
And everyone just stops and is looking over in the silence.
Yurna opens up her purse, takes out 3 silver, and puts them on the table to pay for the fork.
And then everyone just kind of shrugs and goes back to what they were doing.
She was facing the wall for this, so it's just horrible screeching metal noise and then no more fork.
Yep. How does the party feel about this?
Coon's
Aksha's just.
far weirder.
Ooh.
Toby feels like he's learning more and more about ghosts.
Gerna, this is the first time you eat. I'm so happy.
Yes, I cannot taste much of anything. However, I was starting to feel left out, so I decided to eat something.
If these kinds of things you eat, actually, I'll get some more for you.
We need to eat some, but it is fun sometimes.
Yes. Actually, don't need to eat as much either, but sometimes it's fun.
I think that's true for all kinds of things. I've seen plenty of people eat for fun.
Seems to be very human thing, or more like fleshy skin people thing. Yes. Actually, just eat whatever. Sometime rock. Eggs are good though. Those are crunchy.
Is the crunchy what makes it good?
Yes, it is. It makes scales extra shiny.
Important. Good to know. I will remember. Yurna makes a mental note. Crunchy things for Aksha. She's just gonna find random crunchy things now because Aksha said rocks. So now anything's game.
Certain minerals, yes.
Okay, and unless there's anything else anyone wants to do, I think it's just about where we're going to call it for this episode. I think, once again, some good progress was made. Learned some interesting stuff about the history of this crazy world, and also set yourselves up so that now you have a better idea of where you're going and what you're doing. Should be interesting to see what happens. So tune in next time for another episode of Dice Trays Action. Good night. Don't forget to donate.